The wedding was loud in the way village weddings are always loud. Drums too close to the speakers, singers off-key, ululations piercing the air like gunshots. The women danced in packs, hips swaying, arms flung wide, Jeel bouncing with every step. Laughter rose like steam from boiling pots. The ground trembled with rhythm and weight. All the women were fat, broad-hipped, round-faced. Their wrappers clung to sweating backs, lace-stained at the underarms, skin gleaming beneath the sun. They danced with breathless joy, stopping every few minutes to fan themselves or sip palm wine. Their ankles swelled against tight sandals, their cheeks puffed with pride. Only two women stood still, not dancing, not smiling. Adais and Kioma stood beneath a mango tree, side by side, untouched by sweat or music, thin, upright, quiet. Their dresses hung differently. Adais's neckline didn't stretch. Kioma's waist had room to breathe. In a village where women were praised for how many yards of fabric it took to sew their clothes, the sisters looked like cloth was wasted on them. "They're cursed," someone hissed behind them. Kioma refused her mother's soup again. "She's always fasting, that one. Their mother's wicked. They're not even trying to be women." Adaisy's eyes lowered. She had long perfected the art of folding into herself, chin down, shoulders angled away, breath shallow. Kioma, younger, sharper, rolled her eyes at the whispers and made no effort to hide it. Her lips curled in a silent scoff. Across the courtyard, Mama Cecilia laughed. She was surrounded by women who mirrored her, big, glowing, dressed in loud colours and louder jewellery. Her wrapper hugged her stomach like a secret. Her head wrap sat high and proud. She clapped at the bride's dance, her daughters not once acknowledged. By sunset, the food was gone, the guests dispersing. Adis and Kioma helped clean the tables while their mother sat in her plastic chair, fingernails drumming her lap. That night, in their clay-walled kitchen, Mama Cecilia served the same dinner she always did, thick agouti, oily and heavy, swallowed with fufu the size of fists. She watched them like a warden watches inmates. "Eat before it cools," she said, voice clipped. Kioma pushed her plate away. "I'm not hungry. You're never hungry. And somehow, I'm still alive." Mama Cecilia didn't blink. "Adais?" Adais picked up her spoon and ate. One bite, then another. She didn't taste it anymore. She chewed slowly, politely. Kioma got up and left the room. Later, when the lamps were out and the compound silent except for crickets and distant generators, Kioma spoke from the corner of their bed. "You know why all the women are fat, don't you?" Adaisi stared at the ceiling, breathing through her nose. She didn't answer. She didn't need to. Adais walked the same path to school every morning, a narrow, red dust track flanked by tall elephant grass and the occasional goat nosing for shade. Her steps were measured, her posture straight, her satchel pressed neatly against her side. The villagers greeted her with nods and praise. "Discipline," they would say. "That's how a girl should carry herself." Her mother trained her well. She smiled with her lips, never her teeth, never too much. In the classroom, she taught multiplication tables and Igbo proverbs, always standing, always calm. The girls watched her the way girls watched older women, curious, envious, afraid to be caught staring too long. She noticed how some tugged at their uniform, wishing the seams were tighter. During break, she sat at her desk and marked books while the children ate. Some girls compared arm sizes, thighs. One plump girl refused her food, poked at the beans like they had betrayed her. Later, a whisper, "Miss Adais, I want to look like you." The girl was called to the principal's office the next day. Her lunch doubled for the rest of the week. At home, Kioma sat behind the house with her sewing machine hidden beneath a plastic tarp. She stitched in secret, halter tops, fitted skirts, drawstring pants with bold prints and high waists. Clothes no woman in their village would dare to wear. "You skipped jamb again," Adaz said one evening as they folded laundry in silence. Kioma shrugged. "You think I want to sit in a lecture hall so some old man can tell me how to behave? I'm not you. You think I wanted this?" Kioma didn't answer, just lifted one of her finished dresses to the light and smiled faintly. It was red, daring, stitched with confidence. Their mother, Cecilia, had eyes like old knives, polished dull, but still dangerous. She had once been the girl men fought over. Now she was the woman women feared and followed. In every gathering, she spoke the loudest, laughed the deepest, instructed others on how to raise daughters. Her gospel was the body. Curves meant comfort. Weight meant wealth. Hunger was an insult. "You think I suffered through childbirth so people will say my daughters look like matchsticks?" she once shouted after church. She controlled the kitchen like a fortress. No food left her pot without her permission. No portion was adjusted. Adais learned early how to chew without tasting. Kioma learned how to spit into her napkin when no one was watching. Their father's portrait still hung in the corridor, crooked, dusty. He had died when Kioma was barely 2. A fever, they were told, but no details were ever shared. The topic died with him. Only once did Adais ask about it. She had been 12. Her mother's slap was so sudden it rang for hours. Now, she never asked again. That night, Kioma kicked at the leg of the bed, angry and restless. "Why do you act like everything's normal? You think we're fine just because we're not dancing like the rest." Adaisi stayed still. "We're not like the rest. She starves us, Ada. This is control, not culture. Look at the other girls. They don't get to choose either, but at least they eat." Adaisi's voice was low. "At least we're safe." Chioma turned her head, brow furrowed. "Safe from what?" Adaise didn't answer. Her fingers tightened around the blanket. There was something hollow behind her eyes. Not fear, not quite. Something more familiar. Something Kioma had stopped asking about. It happened on a Tuesday evening, when the sky was a dull slate and thunder rumbled with no real intent. The air was thick with the promise of rain, but none came. Chioma had been sewing all day, hunched over fabric and thread, skipping dinner again. Adaise warned her, softly, without conviction. "You've only had Gary since yesterday." Kioma waved her off. "I'm fine. My stomach is just tired." She wasn't fine. Adaise found her on the floor of the corridor, slumped against the wall, like she had simply sat down and melted. Her dress was soaked through with sweat. Her eyes fluttered, unfocused. One hand clawed weakly at her collar. "Kioma!" Adaise lifted her sister's head, tried to shake her awake. She screamed. By the time Mama Bisi, the town nurse, arrived with her box of rusted instruments and bitter herbs, Kioma had vomited twice and drifted into sleep like someone too tired to fight. In the kitchen, Mama Bisi wiped her hands on a towel and looked Adaise straight in the face. "She's malnourished. She eats," Adaise whispered. "No, she performs eating. There's a difference. Her blood pressure is low. Her tongue's pale. She's exhausted. This isn't rebellion. This is starvation." Adaise stood rigid, arms crossed, the truth pressing against her chest like heat. She had known. She had known in the same way you know a roof will leak, but wait for the rain to confirm it. "You have to take her away," Mama Bisi said gently, before something worse happened, but Mama Cecilia had already heard. The door slammed open, and she marched in with fire in her eyes. "Take her away where? So she can shame me in another village. So people will say I didn't raise her right. She's sick, Mama. She is spoiled. She disrespects my food, my name. She doesn't want to be a woman. She's dying." Adaise snapped. It was the first time her voice cracked in defiance. It hung in the air, unfamiliar. Mama Cecilia slapped her so quickly, Addie staggered back into the wall. "You don't know what sickness is," Cecilia hissed. "You think skinny means righteous? You think thin means clean? You don't know what it means to bleed and carry and survive." Blood rose in Adaise's ears. Her cheek burned. Then, quieter. "Why are all the women here fat? Except us." Cecilia turned away. Not out of shame, out of calculation. "Because I said so." That night, while the house breathed slow with night sounds, and Kioma slept feverishly, Adaise lit a lantern and opened the padlocked storeroom behind the kitchen. She had no plan. Her hands moved on instinct. She dug through rusted pots, moth-eaten shawls, plastic basins, until her fingers grazed something different. Leather, worn, damp. A notebook. She sat on the floor and opened it. Inside were her father's notes. His handwriting was sharp, decisive. Pages upon pages of records. Local herbs, dosages, charts of weight gain and hormone reactions. He wrote of fertility enhancement, of community consent, of controlled administration to prepubescent girls. And then, a change in tone. Uncontrolled escalation. "Cecilia insists it's the only way to protect them. Fat girls don't get taken. Skinny girls disappear. But this isn't science. This is fear." More pages. "Stopped treatment after Kioma's birth. Side effects worsening." Cecilia disagreed. Called me a traitor. Said fat is safety. But safety for who? The last page was smeared, hurried, a line circled twice. If I die, it won't be from fever. Adaze sat there long after the lantern went out. The notebook never left Adaze's satchel after that night. She carried it to school, to the market, to the church compound when Mama Cecilia wasn't looking. Pages pressed flat against her thigh like a hidden bruise. She cornered Mama Bessie one afternoon behind the health centre, where wilted cassava leaves curled under the sun. "What did my father do to the girls here?" she asked without preamble. Mama Bessie looked around, then lowered her voice. "He didn't start it. Your father only helped refine it." Adaze said nothing, just waited. "It started during the conflict, before your time. Men from the next village would come here at night, take girls, slim ones, young ones. The elders said, 'We make them big. They'll stop looking desirable.'" She paused. "So they did. How?" "Injections, herbal infusions, fertility boosters they called them. But it wasn't about children. It was about visibility. If they were fat, they couldn't be invisible, couldn't be stolen." Adaze's breath caught. "And my mother?" She opposed it. At first, she said she'd keep her own girls pure. She refused the shots for you and Kioma, called you sacred weightless ones. But later, Mama Bisi's mouth thinned. "I don't know if it was kindness anymore. Maybe it was just control." Adaze walked home in silence. Sacred weightless ones. The words itched. She thought about the way Mama Cecilia served meals, how she controlled when, what, and how much they ate, not to protect, to own. The next morning, Kioma was gone. Her bed neatly made, her clothes missing, sewing kit gone. Adaze found a scrap of red fabric folded on the pillow. No note, no goodbye. She searched the village for hours, asking vendors, neighbors. Most shrugged, some smirked. She finally left. Good for her. 2 days passed. Then Adaze borrowed money from the headmistress and took the early bus to Enugu. She found Kioma staying with a former tailoring client, a college girl with a spare mattress and no rules. Kioma looked different, more colour in her cheeks, but sharper too, edges raw. "You followed me," she said, arms crossed. "You didn't leave a note." "I wasn't trying to start a fairy tale." Adaze sat, waited. "You let her control us," Kioma said finally. "You let her feed you lies and punish me for truth." I was scared. Kioma's laugh was bitter. "Number you were obedient. You always thought obedience would save you. I didn't know everything, but you knew enough." They sat in silence. Then Kioma turned away and wiped her cheek. Adaze wanted to reach out, but didn't. Later that week, they visited a clinic. Kioma had complained of stomach cramps, blood in her vomit. The doctor, young and kind-eyed, didn't hide his concern. "She's severely malnourished, chronic ulcers, stress-induced gastritis. Her body's been breaking down for years." Adaze clenched her fists. "Can she heal?" "With care," he said, "but not if she goes back." That night, Kioma said she wanted to stay in the city. "There's no air back there, no room, not for people like me." Adaze didn't argue. She returned alone. The house was quiet. Mama Cecilia sat on the veranda, shelling groundnuts into a metal bowl. "She left for good, didn't she?" she asked without looking up. Adaze stood before her, notebook in hand. "I found his records." A pause. Then Cecilia chuckled. "He always wrote too much. He called you a traitor. He was weak. You lied to me." Mama Cecilia's hands stilled, then slowly resumed shelling. "He thought he could save everyone with science and softness. He thought I was cruel for choosing what worked. You made all the women fat so no man would leave you again." Her mother looked up. Her eyes gleamed with something that wasn't regret. "Men stay where they're needed, not where they're wanted. You poisoned girls. I protected them. You controlled us, starved us. You made yourself God." Mama Cecilia's voice dropped, cold and sure. "And God kept you safe, didn't he?" Adaze stared at her, breath shallow. And for the first time, she saw her mother clearly, not as a monster, not even as a martyr, just as a woman so broken by fear she had built a shrine out of power and fed her daughters to it. The drums began before dawn. By midday, the square pulsed with colour and movement. Palm leaves were strung along fences. Market stalls closed early. Women emerged from compounds like queens, swaddled in layers of vibrant fabric, necks draped in coral beads, arms jingling with bangles. Their hips led them, proud and slow, faces powdered, feet bare. The fertility festival had returned. It was an old ceremony, supposedly predating colonization, a celebration of abundance, though over time it had become something else, a pageant of size. Girls as young as 10 were weighed and praised. Women were seated on carved stools, measured by the width of their laps. Adais stood on the sideline, eyes dull. She wore her plain brown wrapper, hands clenched at her sides. Her mother had been chosen to speak last, the matron of the village, the final blessing. Then the music paused. A ripple moved through the crowd like a sudden wind. Chioma. She walked straight through the center of the square, cutting across the dancers. Her dress was blinding, a deep red, fitted like a second skin, slashed at the sides with gold thread. The shape of it scandalized every auntie in a 5-mile radius. Her head was bare, no gel, just her afro combed high like a crown. Whispers erupted. She came back. Look at her dress. Shameless girl. She looks like her father. She walked up to the microphone and took it without permission. The crowd's murmuring faded to stunned silence. Kioma's voice was clear, controlled. I want to tell you what this festival really celebrates. It's not fertility, not beauty. It's control. Gasps, murmurs. She scanned the faces. Years ago, the women of this village began injecting their daughters with fertility boosters, without consent, without knowledge. They did it to make them bigger, slower. They said fat girls were safer, that they wouldn't be taken. People turned toward each other, murmuring louder now. Our father tried to stop it. He kept records. He refused to let us be part of it. And for that, my mother called him a traitor. Kioma looked directly at Cecilia, who stood stiffly near the front row. Some of you think you were protected, but you were altered. You were never given a choice. Mama Cecilia stepped forward, her voice booming. This is tradition. You will not shame me in front of my people. Chioma didn't flinch. Then let the truth stand beside your shame. A hush spread, deep and uneasy. A woman cried out, voice cracking. My daughter was 7 when she started swelling. Another. You told me it was a gift. A third fell to her knees. She can't have children now. The weight of it hung in the air. Then, Mama Cecilia wavered. Her hand went to her temple. Her mouth opened, then closed. She stumbled once, then again, and collapsed. Screams broke out. Women rushed forward. Men pushed through, shouting her name. Adais didn't move. She just stared as they carried her mother away. Her wrapper had slipped, revealing the folds of her body. Not regal, not powerful, just flesh, aging and exhausted. Kioma still stood at the microphone, breathing hard. No one tried to stop her now. The chalkboard in Class 3 was cleaner now, not just in surface, but in purpose. Adais stood before it in a crisp blouse, no longer hunched, no longer dimming herself to blend in. Her voice had steadied. The children listened. Today we'll learn about our bodies, she said. What they need, what they want, what no one has the right to take from them. She had added a new unit to the curriculum, something not written in any government booklet. Health, nutrition, autonomy. She called it knowing yourself. Some parents complained, quietly. Others praised her, quietly. The principal had simply shrugged. It's your class. Meanwhile, the girls sat up straighter. They asked questions now. They pointed at packaging labels and asked what was inside. They started saving food, eating slowly. They stopped giggling when someone said consent. Adais received a letter from Kioma once a month. Inside the envelope, money, clippings, and sketches. Tailored dresses with bold cuts and unapologetic shapes. Her shop in Enugu had caught on, especially among young women tired of swimming inside wrappers meant for someone else's body. Sometimes Kioma sent photos, women in her designs smiling, not always slim, but always confident. Tell them it's not the size, it's the story, she wrote once. Back in the village, change came slowly. Some mothers still sat on their porches, proud of their daughter's width. They whispered about Kioma like she was a scandal that never ended, but others quietly began asking questions. A woman knocked on Adais's door with her teenage daughter beside her. She doesn't want the booster. I won't force her. Another sent her daughter to school with a note. Let her grow into her own shape. A week later, a poem appeared on Adais's desk. No name, just careful handwriting. I don't want to be your softness or your fear. I want to be shaped by air, not shame. Let me grow my own weight. She read it twice, then folded it into her notebook. She visited her mother once. The hospital was clean but stale. Machines hummed. Nurses moved quickly. but without urgency. Cecilia lay still. Stroke had stolen her words, left only blinks and shallow breaths. Her body looked smaller now, almost deflated. A woman built on thunder, silenced by her own heart. Adais brought her a bowl of plain soup. No oil, no meat, no fufu, just broth. She set it on the tray, covered it gently with the lid, and said nothing. Her mother blinked once. Adais turned and walked away. The wedding ground looked different now. The drums still played, but softer. The crowd still gathered, but this time there was no bride, no groom, no dancing for fertility. It was a graduation. Rows of plastic chairs lined the open field. A stage had been built from wooden planks and painted with bright colours. A cloth banner fluttered overhead. To know is to grow. Girls stepped onto the stage one by one, heads held high. Some were tall, some short, some slim, some round. Each wore a dress Chioma had designed, vibrant, modern, tailored to their bodies, not moulded by anyone else's idea of who they should be. Adaizi sat in the front row, hands folded in her lap. She watched them walk. Their feet were steady, their backs were straight. Not one of them looked down. Chioma wasn't there, but her mark was on every seam, every stitch. The dresses did not hide or flatter. They revealed, not skin, truth. Behind her, parents clapped, some with pride, some with confusion, but no one interrupted. As the last girl stepped down from the stage, a little one slipped through the rows and tugged at Adai's sleeve. She was maybe 7. Her hair was in twists. Her dress was too big at the waist. "Teacher," she whispered, "do you think I'm fat?" Adais turned to her. She knelt, bringing herself to the girl's height, looking her square in the eyes. "I think," she said softly, "you're brave." The girl smiled, not wide, just enough. Adaizi stood, turned back to the stage. A breeze moved through the crowd, lifting the edges of dresses, rustling the banner. The drums picked up again, but this time, no one danced for someone else's story. Hi besties, thank you so much for watching to the end. Please remember to like, comment and subscribe.